Good morning. My name is Krish O'Mara Vignarajah, and I am President and CEO of Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, the largest faith-based national nonprofit dedicated to immigrants and refugees. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you this Advent season about immigration and the work of LIRS. Today, I'll close the series by sharing more about refugees. The United Nations defines a refugee as someone who has been forced to flee his or her country because of persecution, war, or violence. In official terms, a refugee has a well-founded fear of persecution for reasons of race, religion, nationality, public opinion, or membership in a particular social group. Today, there are more than 79.5 million forcibly displaced people in the world, with 26 million fitting the official definition of a refugee. About half of them are children. We are in the midst of the largest refugee crisis the world has ever seen. And yet, in fiscal year 2020, only 11,814 refugees were resettled in the United States, out of 26 million. President-elect Biden has publicly committed to raising the refugee ceiling to 125,000. We're thrilled, of course, but it's not just good news for the children and families who have been waiting in dangerous refugee camps for years. It's good for the United States. For context, allow me to explain the refugee resettlement process. After leaving their home country, a refugee must register with the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, in order to be considered for refugee resettlement. Once a refugee is vetted for security purposes, LIRS gets to work on the resettlement side of things. We work to pair each refugee and refugee family with a partner and community that is uniquely equipped to meet their needs. We have partners all across the country that do this work, and each city has different strengths that make them the right fit for different types of refugee households. Our partners on the ground meet our refugees at the airport and take them to an apartment that has been prepared for them in advance, stocked with modest furniture, culturally familiar foods, and basic amenities. Over the course of the first 90 days, case managers support the individual or family in learning to navigate their new community. We also help them find employment and train them in things like financial literacy and cultural integration. But after 3 months, the role of support shifts away from the caseworkers and onto the refugee families themselves and the communities surrounding them. These families are introduced to new neighbors and church and community groups that will play an important role in providing each refugee with support and companionship for years to come. It's not a one-way street. Immigrants make America better. While there are baseless claims out there that immigrants and refugees are a drain on our nation's resources, that's simply not true. Within just a few months, refugees give back to their new communities. They start working as soon as possible, pay taxes, start businesses, purchase homes, and become U.S. citizens. Over a 20-year period, refugees contribute, on average, $21,000 more in taxes than the initial investment to resettle them. In 2015, refugees contributed $21 billion in U.S. taxes. One government study estimates that over a 10-year period, refugees contributed $63 billion more in federal, state, and local taxes than they consumed in services and benefits. Refugees have served a critical role in revitalizing local communities across the country. They serve as dedicated employees, business owners, homeowners, student, and community leaders. Refugees enrich our country in so many ways. Take Dr. Anissa Ibrahim, a Somali American who became the first refugee in American history to direct a medical center. Or my friend Wilmot Collins, who arrived as a refugee from Liberia and rose to be the very first Black mayor in Montana, honorably serving the people of Helena. Or Representative Ilhan Omar, a Somali American resettled by LIRS who became the first woman of color to hold elective office in Minnesota. In other words, refugee resettlement is an investment in our communities and our country. This is more evident now than ever. During the coronavirus pandemic, immigrants have shown time and time again how essential they are to the fabric of society. 1 in 4 grocery store workers are immigrants. Many work in the agricultural industry. More than 16% of U.S. healthcare workers are immigrants, and immigrants represent 28% of all physicians and surgeons in the U.S. The leading COVID-19 vaccine was developed by the children of immigrants. Immigrants embody the best of America, and I couldn't be more proud to call them my friends, my allies, my brothers and sisters in solidarity. A little later on, my colleague Andrew will share some ways that your community can support the way that LIRS works. But I want to leave you with some real actionable items. Here's how you can help. By donating. Donations from our supporters help us to improve the lives of refugees we serve. For example, we recently raised money for the Neighbors in Need Fund, which supports immigrants and refugees who are struggling due to the coronavirus by providing monetary support, access to resources, medical equipment such as thermometers, and much more. Volunteering. While limited during the pandemic, there are many opportunities to volunteer through our large affiliate network, which can include helping a refugee navigate public transportation, aiding in English language learning, or simply offering a friendly face and a listening ear. Advocating. One of the most helpful things you can do is participate in LIRS advocacy campaigns, which make it easy for you to get in touch with your congresspeople to show your support for issues affecting refugees. By educating. Use what you've learned this Advent season to help your friends and family better understand the refugee resettlement system in the U.S. and continue your own journey by continuing to learn about the resettlement process and listening to refugee voices. I can't thank you enough for allowing me to share your Advent season with you. Please feel free to reach out to LIRS anytime, and I hope you have a very happy and healthy holiday season.